Hey everybody, hope you're having a good day. Now this is a video I've wanted to do since finishing off my first ever arena grind for a 5-star feature champion, and I've always known that the system is a little bit flawed, but I never really had that first-hand experience, and now I feel like I at least have enough experience to put some words out there, some sort of suggestion, and I do have an idea where I think. I don't actually think that this would hurt Kabam at all. I think it would actually help get more people to do Arena, because I really think Arena is an underappreciated game mode. It gives you a lot of practice. People who do Arena and typically, hone their skills a little more in the game. It's a way to keep people involved, interested, and play with as many different champions as possible, sort of test out champions, test out play styles, etc. So it's a great game mode, and I'll say this as well. I doubt that they would ever implement something which I'm going to sort of suggest, which is a guaranteed way to get a champion. That is sort of where I'm headed, but it's very hard for me to see that just because of all of their past decisions of kind of avoiding that style of champion acquisition. But I think they should. So being able to target champions does not hurt this game. I don't think it hurts it at all. The old featured Hero Crystal I really liked. I think if you balance champions and you put a lot of effort into designing them, people are gonna sort of gravitate to whoever they like. Fan favorites will always be fan favorites, but you will get diversity in this game naturally. In sort of a just everyone gets to choose who they want. Sort of system. Anyway, so resources are the what throttle the use of champions, right? So if everybody might have, you could just load up every single champion on every single person's roster, but they're not necessarily going to get used. People are going to rank up only a certain number of champions, and Kabam does a good job, actually, I think, of throttling these resources and making us choose every single investment rank up. It feels like a big investment, and I think they do really well with that, putting a really high stakes on those. So, many of the top tier champions, even in rosters like mine, so I've got a Magic sitting at 125, arguably the best Mystic, probably one of the strongest champions in the entire game, but I picked her up so late that she just sits at 125. I have no resources to rank her up. I've assigned other priorities for my resources, so there's just no chance of Magic getting ranked up. So that's a strong argument, and I think a lot of people have that one champion, that's really good, but you just sort of didn't get them at the right time, and they're just staying as a very weak version, and they're not going to get used in War. They're not going to get used in Alliance Quest. They may get used in the Arena, which is why Arena is an undervalued game mode. But throttling the resources does help keep this game sort of balanced a little bit, I think. So you could potentially diversify if you were able to target whatever champion you wanted, though. If you could get that champion you wanted at the right time, you could potentially diversify rosters even more, I think. I think sometimes when you're sitting on 5 or 6 5-star champions, let's go a little higher. Say you have 15 5-star champions, they're not really your favorites. You never really identified with them. You're sitting on a Rhino, maybe you saw him once, but he's not really super fun for you. Maybe you're sitting with a Gwenpool, but you don't really like her because you're more identified with the MCU. But then all of a sudden you pull Stark Spidey. He's the best. He's one of the best damage dealers in the game. You feel forced to rank him up, right? You feel like, oh, this is the only guy who's sort of meta who I have, so I'm just going to throw resources into him, put him as my profile, and be done with it. But if you just had your choice, maybe you wanted to take up, instead you wanted to take up a Phoenix or a Sentry, but you couldn't get your hands on that champion you liked, so you just didn't really have a choice. And then you have resource caps, so you kind of have to funnel resources into somebody, so you just go with the meta, right? And I think that hurts diversity a little bit. So that's my argument for implementing something that's more guaranteed. Now, let's go over what I think are some of the problems with the current system. I think in a typical arena, nobody knows how to get the champion. We start off, everyone asks arena predictions, arena cutoffs, everyone's streaming, what are the cutoffs, and a lot of this is all generated via just communication. Now, it's kind of cool that we can sort of generate the cutoffs via just the mob mentality, but I think a lot of people get discouraged from participating. Their favorite YouTuber says, oh, I think the cutoff's going to be 65 million, and they go, what? There's no way I'm doing that. I'm just not even going to participate. I'll do the 3-star arena, and I'll just ignore the 5-star arena today because I really want to play with the champion. I want the champion I like, so I'm going to go with the 3-star arena instead of the 5-star. They're going to assume that the whales will outspend them, and they're right. They will outspend them, which is no problem. There should be people who are whaling out for these champions if that's what they want to do. That's definitely their prerogative, and that's what kind of keeps a game like this moving, keeps it alive. So you've got also the potential for inside groups to sort of share their scores, and you kind of get this like insider trading sort of problem that can kind of shut out new entries to this like champion market. I remember when I was grinding, I was sort of talking to people like, hey, where are you at? You know, what score are you at? And that normally wouldn't be a problem, but we're talking about 150 people. It's actually possible for me to get in touch with over 10% of this group, and that's just 15 people, and just sort of say, hey, where are you at? Well, I'm trying to feel out where my grind should be going, and that's, you know, it's perfectly natural to want to do that, but it's kind of, I don't know if it's not cheating, but it's definitely, well, I guess it could be considered cheating, and that's kind of how people get shut out of getting the champion, right? This whole system is sort of flawed in that way. So I don't know. So other issues moving forward are with like sort of a high hyped champion like Emma Frost just went. Scores of over 100 million points can easily be reached with some cash. I mean, it's not easy. This is a lot of time put in as well. I won't get into the whole Merc situation, but there's people out there with enough time, and they can be loaded up with money, and they can go up to 100 million easy. And the amount of time that is invested to put up 100 million points, I don't even care. If it's just pure refreshing, it's not super healthy. I know some people have situations where they just, you know, they've got plenty of time, and this is a good way to sort of distract yourself. But in general, that is a lot of time to be doing one thing. I don't care if it's training for a marathon. You don't want to be running 10 hours a day, you know? So it's just too much time to be doing one thing, period. And then multiple people who are possibly, they want to get in for the first time. This is their first time grinding for Arena. They're going to be turned off of Arena forever by an arena hyped up like that so much and then missing out. This is the easy way to just discourage people from ever participating in featured grinds. Tons of people would love to take a stab at it, but they're too scared to even enter. And then the main problem, I think, even if 151 people score 150 million points each person, somebody is going to end up with nothing. Now, I know if you're not a winner, you're definitely a loser. So I know, I get that. Somebody's got to lose. But I think that you can still have a system of winners and losers without making it so drastic. Just imagine for a second if 150 people put up 150 million points. Hundreds of dollars thrown at the game, and 3 days of their life, and one person just sits there. I mean, you 100% just lost a client as the company who runs the game. You may have generated some revenue in the process, but you're not keeping people long term that way. So there's some of my arguments for what's the problems with the system. It can also have a reversal effect where people are not grinding, because you can see what happened with Emma. The next grind, she went for only 21 and a bit million. Obviously, people just gave up. So that's pretty clear what happened there. On a low arena for an old champ, people grinding for the old champs are people who typically spend probably less, and maybe they have an affinity with that champion, and the scores are going to remain lower and not really encourage spending at all. That's sort of a problem for Kabam for some of these old featured champions. You know, what's the point of releasing? That's why I think we might be seeing arenas like Doctor Strange coming out. It's like, well, why are we going to put Karnak as a featured arena if no one's going to grind for him? So let's put Doctor Strange out there, and people will go crazy. So that's sort of an issue too. Why don't you want to monetize all the champions, right? So Also, another issue is it's possible pay to win becomes possible. I think Kabam does a pretty good job of making this game not pay to win. We obviously do see some very high spending alliances at the top. I think that's normal, but there are other alliances who are not big spenders who are right there with them. So I think that this game does a really good job of towing that line, and the arena system is sort of open to free-to-play players. For example, I did my grind for free, but I had to save up lots of units. I think I'm definitely in a very small minority of people who are doing it like that, like just willing to save up units for months and months and months and then spend them all in one 3-day spurt. So I don't know. And then the last thing I have to say is that there's no way to hit your actual goal. There is no goal. You don't know what the goal is. You're just sort of going crazy until you die. And that's not fun. So let's try and what I'm going to try and do is stabilize this market a little bit with this idea. When people know the price, first of all, I believe there are studies, I cannot quote them, so I shouldn't be saying this, but I think people will pay more if they know the price. Right, so if you put a guarantee line at 100 million, I think you will get more people scoring 100 million. I don't think that should be the guarantee, the price for a champion. I think that's way too much. But I think when you also know the price, more people will be encouraged to participate in these arenas. Competition should be actual competition, not just who can pay or grind the most. That is a competition in and of itself, but it's kind of a competition where who can be the craziest rather than who can guess the score the best, or sort of things like that. So people who've been playing this game for a long time might remember that there was an old arena system that combined the basic and the featured 4-star hero into one arena, and if you wanted the basic champion, which a lot of people did, there was a sweet spot. Now the sweet spot was sort of, you don't want to go too high, you wanted to score in a certain bracket. The top bracket got the featured champion, but the middle bracket got the basic champion. So that was cool. I liked the fact that there was a sweet spot, and that made guessing cutoffs way more interesting, orders of magnitude more interesting. But the ability to overshoot was sort of a problem. It was a problem for Kabam because people were purposely scoring lower on purpose. Kabam doesn't want that, and being able to overshoot was extremely frustrating for the players as well. So what I'm kind of proposing is a hybrid of that. I think that there should be a safe line, is what I'm calling it, and you can see here. My mouse will show. Yes, it will show. The safe line is sort of the line that if you cross it, you're getting the champion. Now, I think if you cross that line, you shouldn't get everything. You're not getting the top reward. The top reward is still in the top 150, but you are guaranteeing yourself some reward, and I think that should be a champion. And I would even go so far as to say it might be a basic version of the champion, but I don't want to incentivize the difference between the safe line and the top 150 too much. It's kind of hard. I think this might take a little trial and error. They might have to test this out in some mini scenarios. Obviously, I really don't think they're going to go for this. But come on, let's play out this hypothetical scenario real quick. So in my scenario, the top 150 people underneath the safe line would grab the champion and the 6-star shards, and I think it would be cool potentially to throw in a rank up gem, 1 to 3 maybe, which would put that champion in an immediately usable state. So there is some high incentive, and that's catalysts and everything as well, because that's rank ups. That is very, very attractive, and people will try and shoot for that 150 as much as possible, especially if they want to get to using the champ right away, right? Now, the safe line, I think, should be a multiplied quantity over the top 150 of the previous arena cutoff. If that makes any sense, it's kind of hard. So I'll go through this example real quick. Basically, the arena will stabilize a little bit. It will still fluctuate. It'll go up and it'll go down, but it won't be giant bubbles like Emma Frost was, where you go up to 70 million and then you go down to 20 million. It's going to be sort of a rise and fall, which will be a lot more interesting to analyze and a lot more predictable, but still sort of a little bit unpredictable. And it will give people the ability to compete for more rewards. So, well, it's a lot of talking. So let's let's move into some examples, right? So I've got Korg number 1. This is just hypothetical. I know he went for different scores in this, but I just want to say, so let's just say the safe line is 50 million. If you grind 50 million points, you get it. It's a milestone for the arena. That means that the previous arena's top 150 cutoff was 40 million points. It means that there was some safe line and people went up to it, and score number 150 scored 40 million points, right? 1.25 times 40 creates that safe line of 50 million. It will guarantee you Korg and nothing else, right? Nothing else. The previous safety line could have been, for this top 150, could have been 31 million, right? That's sort of attainable for a lot of people. So everyone sort of pushed to get Korg as close as possible to 31 million, because not everyone's going to get him. You could still put up 30 million and not get Korg, right? Many people might do that, but we're not talking 60 million and not getting Korg. We're talking 30. It's much more manageable, right? And you'll see how that differs as it goes up. So basically, they're scoring as close to 31 as possible, but not going over because they wanted to get the shards, or maybe also the rank up gem. I don't know. This would push the cutoff for 150 to 30 million points, right? And I don't think that there's a problem with the current percent rewards. I think all the rewards should be percent based. It's pretty cool that way. And I think this would actually push the arena cutoffs a little bit down, maybe back down to 11 million. Because I think more people would be getting in to try and go for the Korg and stuff. So Korg 2, because everyone pushed so hard in this arena, they saw 30 million as the top 150 cutoff last time. They saw what potentially could be a way to fight for Korg, right? So basically the cutoff for this 30 million caused the safety line to be 38 million. So the new Korg goes for 12 million points cheaper in the second round because of the top 150 cutoff of the previous round. So now he's actually like, oh wow, this is pretty close. I mean, I could grab Korg and a rank up gem real easily now. I'm gonna put up 37 million and get as close to that as possible. So we're going through that cycle again. So we're pushing the cutoffs a little bit higher because these scores are fairly attainable for big arena grinders. Meanwhile, the percent rewards stay the same. We move on to Omega Red. Omega Red comes around because Korg went for the top 150, went for 37. The safe line goes up to 46. We're kind of getting into high territory here, but it's still not high enough, I think, to discourage 150 people from going close to that price. So if somebody out there is willing to put up 44 million and risk not getting it, right? So we'll see how that could play out. But if we move over to like the following arenas, we've got a safe line for the next Omega Red at 56 million. I think we're getting into discouraging territory here, right? So I don't think 150 people are going to be willing to put up 55 million and risk not getting Omega Red, right? Because they want the shards. So if anybody wants Omega Red and they're going to 55 million, they're not going to risk it. They're going all the way up to 56 million to guarantee the champion. Now, that's why the top 150 would actually drop, because a lot of people are pulling out of that pool. They're pushing themselves from the top 150 pool into the safe line pool, which reduces the top 150 pool. And some guy who just maybe quit his arena halfway through was the cutoff guy, and he was 25 million. Now, that kind of resets. Our quote-unquote bubble has been popped, and we're back down, and Emma Frost for the first round goes for really cheap. She goes for 31 million. Perfect. Tons of people are getting her. Lots of people go for this rank up gem and the shards and everything, and they say, look, it can't be that bad. There's no way her arena cutoff is going to go less than 38 million the second time because of the 1.25. Maybe they want to make this 1.5, maybe make it a little more extreme, but the bigger number you make that, the bigger the waves are going to be. So tons of people go for that 30 million and set a cutoff for Emma 2 at 38 million. I predict in a situation like this, tons of people would go for that 150 still again. Also, we'd have tons of people putting up 38 million for the guaranteed champion, and we're off to the races. Now, if a system like this is implemented, I don't think that everybody is going to be grinding out all the time, because I do think though that more people will get in the pool, but because champion acquisition is going to be a little easier, it's not going to be so desperate, to grab the champion. It's like, oh, well, you know what? I don't really like Emma Frost that much. I'm going to wait for the next month and put some scores up for those. And I just think in general, what does it hurt for us to have Emma Frost at 125 on our rosters? Not everyone's going to rank them up. Right now, the only people who go into the arena are the ones who have all the resources ready to take that person to 455. That's except for a few people who, just always go for the champion. So this is just a little different. Guys, this is just my idea. I think that there is... I don't know if there's a fatal flaw to it, because I really have thought this one out, but I'm sure there are many, many little flaws, and the biggest one of all being that this is a system of guaranteed champion acquisition, and I think that people will, at least at Kabam, I think that will be discouraged. The whole RNG thing is definitely their wheelhouse, and I think they prefer it, and I'm not sure that we'll ever get something like this, but I think if they were looking at changing the way champions are acquired, I think this could be a way for the company to meet the players in the middle, still ask us for a lot of time and effort and potentially money. I think that's fair. They've built a great game, and I think a lot of people are willing to do that, to put in that time and effort and money. And this is still community-based. Cutoffs will always increase over time with a system like this. They will, it's not a massive change. It's just tweaking it a little bit by putting this guarantee line super high in the clouds, right? For everybody to reach for, and then incentivizing to go a little bit under it, and just a little bit, and they can mess around with these rewards in the top 150, and they can expand it to top 200 or shrink it to top 50. I don't know, guys. This is just an idea. I have thought about it a little bit, and I think I'd love to see something like this in the game. But yeah, that's it, guys. I've rambled on for 20 minutes. I'm dying. I think in the future, if I'm going to make a video like this, I should probably cut it in little bits, but I'm not very good at that stuff. I like to do it all in one take, and that's just the way I do it. So anyway, I'll see you soon. I'll put another war video up, and hopefully get some live streams going again soon. But this is just my reaction to just how crazy the arena grinds are. Definitely too much time and effort for grabbing champions, and I think I'd like that system changed. Anyway, too much rambling. Take care, guys. See ya.